Okay. So, welcome to today's class. In the last class, we looked at what a class is. We said a class is a blueprint that we use to create an object. And we said, well, we can create many objects from a single class. And when we do that, those objects will look alike. So we said to create a class, you use this class keyword. Then, by convention, you start the name of the class with upper case. Then you can give properties to your class. You can say legs equals 2. You can say mouth equals 1. You can say eyes equals 2. So we have all of this now. Next is we can create objects from this class by using the new keyword. So we can say let new animal. Or we can, okay, let's say new animal equals to new animal. Or let's say we want to create a n out of it. So we can say let n equals to new animal. So it means this n, we have these properties, these three properties. Then we now say we can make this even more flexible by using our constructor. So in that case, we can receive the legs, the mouth, and the eyes. So you can now cut this out of this place and say this dot legs equals to legs. This dot mouth equals to mouth. Then this dot eyes equals to eyes. Are we getting it? This is just a couple of our last class. Fine. So this is where we stopped. We also discussed that you can add methods to it. Let's say normally animals make noise. So you can say, should I call it noise now? So we are creating a method called noise. And whatever noise this animal makes can be inside this. So I can say, can see what are we sand. So now say whenever we call on this sand, we can say console log sand. So console log sand. So we can say n dot noise. And whenever we call on n dot noise, then it's a console log sand. So we can send the sand to this place and say, so when we put this here, it's going to be the value of sand and it will log it to the console. Any questions so far?
No question.
Okay. Let's try to make a little adjustment to this dot sand equals to, because most times, animals used to have sand right from birth.
Yeah.
So we can put this here, sand. So, but whenever the animal now needs to make that sand, we can call it make noise. So whenever the animal needs to make the sand, then it's going to display whatever the value of sand is. So we can say console log this dot sand. Are we getting it? So for that reason, we can pass our values here. But I want to point to something here. These values, look at the values here. The order matters. The first goes to the first, right? The second goes to the second, the third. So the order matters. But you might mistakenly misplace the values. You might put the first value in the position of the third value, all of that. So whenever your function is receiving a lot of values like that, it's better you send in objects instead of sending in what's that? data like this, it's better you send your parameters as objects. Let's look at that together. Because of, this is called position argument. That is the other matters. The first goes to the first, the second goes to the second. So when you mistakenly, if for any reason you mistakenly place the first one in the position of the second one, then it may cause issues. So in that case, when your function is receiving a lot of values like that, it's better you change it to an object. So let's look at how we can do that together. We can say legs mouth eyes and sound. The reason for this now is that even if this legs is the last one, it will still be fine inside this list. Let's adjust this now. So inside this list, we can now destructure legs mouth. We've done destruction now, have we?
Yes.
You can destructure them out of this place. If you don't want to destructure it, you can first get maybe value. Then this now becomes var.legs. You are sending this whole object as the value of var. So you now say var.legs to pull out the legs, var.mouth to pull out the mouth. But I think destructuring it will be much better. So you can destructure it out of it. So the other does not matter again. I hope you get it.
Yes.
Okay. Sister Moji, please, are we together?
Yes, sir.
Any questions so
I
far?
have a question, sir.
Okay.
That line 25 that you just deleted,
Line 25. Okay.
you just deleted one code.
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Number one, we've changed the name of this function. It's no longer noise, it's now make noise. Number two,
Yeah, that's
the
to say
function
that
is,
it should be n.make noise.
yes, and the function is no longer a parameterized function. So it should just be n dot make noise.
Okay.
Any question? Can we move on?
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
have a question.
Alright.
If my brother wants to read this thing now, or if I want to explain to someone, I understand, how am I going to go about it? Like, if the brother is reading it, which one is he going to read first before this function is being triggered?
It's going to see this class. It will see that you created a class called animal, and it will store this class in its memory. On getting to this place, it will see new
Okay.
animal. You are creating a new instance of animal. So this part we call on the constructor, and we run the codes inside the constructor immediately. So then
Okay.
that is going to create a new object out of it and assign it to n. So that n, we have legs, it will have mouth, it will have eyes, it will have sound, it will also have this make noise. So when you are done, it will now run this n.make noise. So it's going to run the codes here.
Okay, so go to run only this sound.
Yes, that
Okay.
makes yes.
So if I want to run this dot mouth, I will write this, I will shift that to line 26. So it will now be n dot.
No, mouth is not a function.
Okay, I will create another method for mouth, right?
No, you can just say console log.
Hello, sir.
I can hear you, man. You can just run this. It will display the mouth.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
The network. Okay. I said if I want to create another one for mouth, which means I will create another method for mouth
No,
before calling it.
no. In fact, you see, this object already has all of these properties in it. It also has this method called make noise. It has this
Okay.
method called make noise. So if I say n.mouth, it will display the value of mouth. If I say console log n.legs, it will display the value of legs. If I say console.log n.ice, it will display the value of ice. If I say console.log n.sand, it will display the value of sand. The reason why we created this function make noise is to mimic what happens in real life. An animal already has a sand inside it. But when it's time to make a sound, the animals will call on a function within itself called make noise. Do you understand? Like when it's time to do that, the animal will now say, "Oh, I want to make noise." Do you get it?
Yes.
So that's what we are just trying to do. Okay, we can call this.
So
We can call it cry. So whenever the animal cry, it's going to make it sound. Just look at it from that perspective. You can call this cry. So when the
like
cry,
Alexa,
yes,
yeah, my question is that can we have more than one method inside this class?
yes, we did that in our last class. We created a lot of methods inside a function, inside your class.
Okay. Yeah, that's my question. That yes, that aside from this method of make noise, can we have another method like method of work? So I will now write it under this one that says n dot, the one for sound. I will now write the one for length
Yes, you can.
separate when I call on work.
Yeah.
Hope you get my question. Yes.
Let's see. So whatever we call on this work, it's going to log work with. Okay, that would be two. So it's going to display work with two legs at 2 meter per minute. So if we want to do it now, we say n
Okay.
dot work. So it's going to run the guts here.
Good.
And
Okay,
the
that's
question.
the question I'm trying to ask.
Okay. Work with two legs at 2 meter per minute. Okay, let's go to today's topic. Today we want to look at what we call class inheritance. Class.
So, hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello, sir.
Yes, fine with you.
Sorry, in a real life project, in a real life project, that sound that we wrote kiki, and no, we can't write something like that in a normal thing now. Is it that we put we download sound and insert that sound where that kiki is?
Yes. Whatever the visit, you can put the URL of the SAN here, where the SAN is located on. You know, the SAN will be a file on your device, so you can put the URL here. Then when you now come here, you trigger it, you point to that URL and you play it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Today we want to look at class inheritance. Mr. Jacob, please, are you there, sir?
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. I want to confirm if you are still there, sir.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right. So today we want to look at class inheritance. What do you understand by someone inheriting something? Is what do we understand by someone inheriting something? Hello, please, are we together? Can we hear you?
Okay.
Okay.
A class inheritance. Yeah, class inheritance is maybe when the value of an object is able to inherit from the when child is able to inherit from the parent, something like that. So, for example, when we said animal now, and the animal has legs, mouth, eyes, and sound, and now we create something like a child class, and is able to also get from the parent class, which is animal. So we say baby goat, we now get bleat from the parent, something like that.
Okay. Thanks for your contribution, sir. Sister Moji, what do you understand by someone inheriting something?
Okay, so inheriting something. But okay, for such person to inherit anything, which means that person will have a parent, like the person will have parents. So it is that child that will inherit the properties of the parents.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So let's go to class inheritance. You both explained a lot about what we want to discuss tonight. When we discuss class inheritance or inheritance generally, even before we come to JavaScript, first, when you inherit something, you are inheriting something that is not yours. That's the starting point. There is something that isn't yours, but it's for someone else. Then you are taking over that thing. You're having access to something that is not yours. And in most circumstances, it usually requires that you have a relationship with that person that you are inheriting. So this is usually common between a parent and a child. A child inheriting the properties of his or her parent. Same way in JavaScript. You want to create a class that will inherit something from another class. So meaning that one class will have some properties. The other class naturally doesn't own those properties. Normally, it doesn't own those properties, but somehow it will have access to those properties in another class. I come again. We're going to have a class that have some properties. Then you have another class. The second class won't have those properties, but somehow it will have access to those properties in the first class. And we call the first class, that is the one that has those properties, we call that the parent class. And we call the class that is inheriting things, the class that is taking charge of things, that is inheriting things, we call that the child's class. So a parent class has properties. A child class somehow has access to those properties owned by the parent class. The child class does not own it. It doesn't belong to the child class, but somehow it's able to make use of those properties as though they are its own. Do you understand the explanation around it?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Okay, let's now write it in quotes. I'll comment out this animal class. You may come back to that. Let's get a class. You can call this first class. This can be any name. You can call it any name of your choice. So inside this, I'll say school equals to, let's say, Uniben. So we have a class called first class. Another class now can take charge of all the properties owned by that class. We are going to look at instances where you make use of class inheritance. We are going to look at this together. But first, get the basic. Another class now can inherit everything owned by this class. In fact, let's say we have a function here. Let's say display school. So we can now say, maybe whenever we call on this, console log my school is so console log my school is this dot school. So whenever we call on this, it's going to do this. Let's get another class now. Class. Sorry, remember to start your class name with capital letter. Second class. So this second class now, we want it to inherit everything inside the first class. In order to make it inherited, you need to first build a relationship between the two. So to build that relationship, you just say extends first class. So this extends means that you are saying that this second class is an extension of the first class. By writing this word extends, it's going to pick everything inside the first class and make them available inside the second class. So the second class now, we now make use of these properties in the first class as though they are its own. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
So we can now say, let's say inside this one we have name, and name is, let's use department instead. Department is accounting, and we can say display details. Instead of saying display screen, we can say display details. So I can say whenever we call on this, also log my name is, sorry, not this, not my school. I am studying accounting. That is this dot in are we getting it? See the way we use this dot school here as though it is owned by this second class. You know, this dot school belongs to first class, not to second class.
Yeah.
But we use it here as though it belongs to second class. So when we create any object out of second class, it will have access to all the properties and methods inside the first class, and also all the properties and methods inside the second class. Let's create an object out of the second class now. Let's A equals to new second class. We can now say A dot display details. So when we call on this, it's going to log this to the console. Let's run it. I am studying accounting in Unibank. Any question?
No question. The extends is the keyword for inheritance.
Yes. Sister Moji, any question?
Hello, sir.
Yes, any question?
I can't really hear you. I think it's my network. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Maybe you can watch the video. If you have any question after watching it, let me know.
Okay.
Now, if let's assume we created a class. Let's assume we created an object from the first class. These objects that we are creating from the first class, we have everything inside the first class, but not inside the second class. That's because the first class is not the one inheriting the second class. Do we get it? The second class is the one inheriting the first class and not the other way around. Like a child is the one inheriting the parent. In this case, the second class is the child, while the first class is the parent. So when we call on this now, this object A will not have access to display details. It's not going to have a method inside it called display details. That's because display details belongs to second class. And since this class, first class, does not have access to the child properties, look at it this way. The child has access to everything inside the parent, but the parent has access to nothing inside the child's class. Do you understand it?
Yes.
Okay. So that's about inheritance. Let's move on inheritance. Let's assume for some reasons we have another method here called display scope. Remember, inside the parents we have a method called display scope. So inside the child.
Hello, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Okay.
Where on line 39, when you say let A be equals to new first class, right?
Yes.
You know that new first class is creating an object.
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah.
So why is it that you chose first class? Why not second class? Why not remove second class?
We've done that too. In fact, that was the first thing we did. We first created an object out of second class. And I explained that that object that we created out of second class has access to display details. But when we create an object out of first class, it doesn't have access to display details. We did that before. We first created an object out of second class before doing that of first class.
So which means that for first class it will only display first class alone.
If you get any object out of the first class, it only has access to those things inside the first class. But when, we
Inside
get,
the first class.
but when you get any object out of the second class, it has access to everything in the second class and the first class.
Okay, okay. But sorry, this line 40 a dot display details is not inside. Um, it's only inside the second class,
Yes, that's what I said. That this will not work.
so it will not work for first class,
Yes,
abi?
it's not going to work.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's create another method called display school. This is called method overriding. This expression whereby there is a method inside the parent, and the child also has that same method. Do you understand? There is a method inside the parent, and the child, for some reasons, also has that same method. So the child's method will override the parent's method. Let's see what that means. Console log. Hey. So when we create any objects from the parent class, that from the first class, and we call on display school. When we create any object from the parent class, we call on display school. It's going to do the codes. It's going to run the codes here. But when we create any object from this child's class, that's from second class now, and we say a.display school is going to run the one here, not the one in the parent. That's because the child now has its own method with that same name. Let's assume the child does not have its own method called display school, then it would have done the one in the parent. But once the child has its own method with that same name, then it will override that of the parent. That's why we call it method overriding. Do you understand?
Okay.
Yes.
Let's move on. We want to bring in constructor now to this. So I'm going to bring in constructor, and I'll cut this out of it there and put it there. Now when we run this code, now the way it is, you are going to have an error. You have an error. Let's go to the browser and see what's going on. You say you have an error. Now the reason is this. Whenever you have constructor in a child class, you know this is a child class because it's an extension of a particular class. When a class extends another class, it is the child class. So when you have constructor inside the child class, you need to reference the constructor. You need to reference the parents. Whenever you have constructor inside the child class, then you need to reference the parent inside that child. So yeah, we have a constructor inside the child class. For that reason, we need to reference the parent by putting this word super. Are we following?
Yes.
Again, whenever you need
Yes.
to put a constructor inside a child class, then it is expecting that you reference the parent. And the way you reference the parent is by calling this word super. That's good now. You see, it has gone. All it's just looking for is that you reference the parent. We're going to look at why this super is important as we move on. But whenever you need to, then you need to put this word super. Let's make this dynamic, this accounting, let's make it dynamic. So instead of encoding it, we can make it dynamic by supplying it here. So I can call biochemistry here, biochemistry. Then, you're going to receive it here, right?
Yes.
So you say department, then you come here and say department. Let's make this also dynamic, this code. So let's make it the parent constructor too. Then here you bring in school. Then you now say cut this one out of this place and say this the school equals to SH. Are we following?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So we are making this dynamic, that is the school in the parent to be dynamic. And we are making the department in the child to also be dynamic. Now let's see what happens. Remember I said something that whenever you have a method inside a parent and you have the same method inside the child, then the method in the child will override that of the parent. We call that method overriding. That happened to this display scope. We saw it the other time, right? Okay. Now, what we want to do is this. Let's first create an object out of these parents. Then we are now going to create an object out of this child so that we look at the difference between the two. So let's say first class. And since we are creating it out of the parent, then we know that whatever we put here will be sent to the parent, right? Which is this. Have you now?
Yeah.
Sister Moja, are you following?
It's breaking, sir.
Okay.
I'm trying to follow you.
So I will change this to school. I can change this to SQI. So this SQI will be sent as the value of this school, SCH. So that this the school will be equals to SCH. That will be equal to SQI. Any questions so far?
No question yet.
Okay. So if I say console log a.school, you're going to see SQI. Good. Let's move on. Next is this. Let's create an object out of the second class. I will comment this out. And I will say let b equals to new second class. We know that whatever we put here will be sent as the value of this, right?
Yeah.
So let's put something here. Let's say I put software here. So let's say console log b dot departments. Now go to the browser, you will see the software, and it's as though everything is working fine. But I tell you, everything is not working fine. The way you're going to know that things are not working fine is when you try to make use of these display details. Let's do that together. So I'm going to say b dot display details. So the problem we're going to have is this. This dot department is software, but there's no value for this dot school. I don't know if you see this problem. Do we get it? Let's assume this constructor is not there.
Okay.
This software would have been sent to the parent's constructor as the value of school. Try and get it. But because the child now has his own constructor, it's going to make use of the child constructor, which is fine, yes. And the child constructor is set in the department. But then, how then do we set the value of this school in the parent constructor? Because we want to make use of this school also inside the child. Do you understand the problem at hand?
Yes, still following.
Okay. So when we send any value here, it's going to be sent to the child constructor because this is a new instance of the child. So that means there's no way we are able to send a value to this school. This school will be undefined. So in order to do that, we can comment out this, but if you comment out this, then there will be no way to also set the departments in the child. So let's solve this problem now. Let's first run this so that we look at the results together. So can you say I am studying software in undefined? Let's proceed. So that is where this super comes in. Remember I said this super references the parent, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we can now say, instead of sending just one, you can say send two. So we are sending the two to the child constructor. You know that since the child now has his own constructor, these two will go to the child constructor, and the child can receive the two. So the child is receiving the two here. The child can now send to the parent's constructor using this super. So whatever you put here goes straight to the parent's constructor. So it's going to come here and trigger this. Do we get it? I come again. We put two values here. The two of them will be sent to the child constructor. Then the child is now sending something to the parent's constructor, to this super, because this super stands for the parents. So we are passing school, which is SQ right now. You know SQ is the value of this school. You are passing the school to the super. So the super will now send it to the parent constructor. So for that reason, it's going to be sent as the value of this SCH. Do you understand?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then this dot school will now be SCH.
That's correct.
Okay. So for that reason now we can now call b dot display school, because this super has helped us to trigger this constructor and it has sent this SCH. Then we can now say this dot school equals to whatever the value of SCH is. So when we now come to this place and we say b dot display details, it's now going to display. I am studying software in SQL.
Yeah.
So let's go to the browser and see the result ourselves. Good. Questions. Let's proceed. So let's see when we can make use of this. So we go back to the animal. So this is the animal class, right? We are assuming that all animals have legs, all animals have mouths, all animals have ears, all animals make sound. We are also assuming that all animals cry and all animals walk. But let's look at some properties that are specific to some specific type of animals. Even though all animals don't have two legs, if you want to adjust the leg, then you can call on it here when you are creating new instance of it. So you can adjust the leg. But let's look at some properties that are not general in animals. Maybe they are for specific set of animals.
Flying.
Is that?
Like the flying.
Okay, good. Like the flying part. Yeah. So let's get a new class called bets. Class bets. We can now say it's an extension of animal. Yeah. So for that reason, bets, we have access to everything inside this animal. We are saying that bets also need legs, they need mouths, they need eyes, they make sound, they cry, they walk, and they have other things that are not inside this place. So bet will inherit all of this, and we now have its own properties that are peculiar to itself. So we can now come here and say, let's say this might have its own constructor. Maybe we want to set the height at which the bird fly. I don't know, but do just for practical, for example's sake. So we are going to send maybe the heights that we want the bird to fly. So we now say this dot maybe fly or this dot height or anything. No, I think fly will be better. It will be more descriptive. Let's say fly height. But remember, whenever you're calling constructor inside the chart, then you need to put the word super. Not that okay, good. Not that alone. You want to be able to set these values because the way our code is presently, the way all of this are at the moment, you are only able to set this fly. Let's assume you want to create, imagine you want to do something like this. Let b equals to new bets. Whatever value we put here, let's say, let's say 10 meters or 100 meters. Whatever value we put here will be the value of this flight height. In fact, if you put an object there, the object will still be the value of this flight height, which the fly will be an object, which is not what we want anyway. Are we getting it? I come again.
Yes, follow.
Whatever value we put here will be the value of this flight height, meaning that somehow we are not setting these values in the parent constructor. So to solve that, we can do something. We can say, as the first parameter, we can pass. So come here, you can say, I can just call it parent details. Parent details. So for the first parameter, we're going to send an object. For the second parameter, we send a string. So we can now send this parent details to this place, parents. Are we getting it? So this will be an object. Do we get it?
Yeah, yeah.
This will be an object. So you are sending it to this parent also. Then this will now be like this. So whenever you want to call on it now, you can now put the legs. I can say legs of this bird, I want it to be 2. I want the eyes. Now remember, the order does not matter when you are dealing with objects. So whether you have eyes before mouth or mouth before eyes, it doesn't matter. So mouth, sorry, eyes, I think yes, best have 2 eyes. The mouth, they also have more mouths. Then which other thing? Sand. I don't know the sound birds make. Maybe KKK also. I'll just KKK. Now for the second one now, we're going to want to put the height, so we can just put 100 meter. So all of this here, this particular object will be sent as the value of this parent details. This 100 meters will be sent as the value of this flight height. So this parent details will now be given to this super, and this super will give it to the constructor. Then you are destructuring it from this constructor and you are setting it here. Do you understand it?
Yeah, you said it.
I said it.
Actually, once one watches it again and then you already flowing more clear. But I'm getting what you're saying.
Okay.
It's just that you know, it becomes clearer when someone parabole process it. But I get what you're saying.
Okay.
Like I get all the explanations so far.
Okay, we can now column b.work. So when we column b.work, it's going to run the code inside the parents. This work is inside the parents. We can call on it if you want to. And work with 2 legs. Then if you also want to check the heights, this flying heights, you can also say maybe alert b.fly. It will give you, already have an alert waiting for us, 100 meters. Do you understand when to make use of class now? If you want to create another object again, another bed, we can also do this with different properties. So let's round it off at this moment.